Hey, Tommy from the Run Testers. In this video, I'm going to do a first look at the Dynafish Xiaonian running shoe. Let's take a look. The Dynafish Xiaonian costs between £110 and £170 in the UK and costs $150 in the US. Weighs 190 grams or 6.7 ounces for men in a size 8.5, and the drop is 7mm. The Dynafish Xiaonian is a carbon-free daily training shoe designed for runners focused on comfort, durability and consistent performance during higher mileage training. It's aimed at road runners and marathon preparation with a ride that prioritises cushioning and stability over the more aggressive feel you get from plated shoes. The midsole uses a TPEE supercritical foam designed to provide a soft, resilient feel with good energy return across longer efforts. The engineered woven upper focuses on breathability and fit, with a wider toe box that should accommodate broader feet more comfortably. A widened platform and added heel structure are included to improve overall stability, while the full coverage rubber outsole is designed to deliver durability and grip on road surfaces during daily training. Okay, so the fit for me in this shoe, I bought a size 42 Europe, which equates to a UK 8.5 and a USA 9 in the Dynafish, and I'm glad I did, because it was just the right amount of space for me before my big toe. If I'd actually gone for a size UK 8, I wouldn't have had enough space. So it actually worked out quite well for me. So I'm glad I opted for that size. The rest of the shoe is actually quite forgiving. It's not a very narrow shoe. There's a bit of space, wiggle room in both sides of the foot. Nice bit of padding around it, not loads, but it's definitely a very roomy shoe, and it's really, really comfortable. I like the tongue as well. So yeah, if you're in the UK, go up half a size from what you normally get your running shoes in. So I went for an 8.5 instead of an 8. Okay, so the Dynafish Xiaonian is probably the main shoe from the Chinese market that I really wanted to get hold of. There's quite a few that I've been looking into, but this seems to be the one that would be a shoe that I really would like. Based on what I've read about it and what I've seen online, this is seen to be a very close contender to things like the Mega Blast, to the Evo SL to an extent. Really cost effective, versatile, performance training shoe, super trainer that ticks a lot of boxes. So from sprinting, things like that, to tempo running and even racing if you wanted to do that. So I was very excited to test it when it turned up. I actually spent £150 on this from AliExpress, and I know in the comments some of you are going to say there are cheaper ways to get it. I decided to get it from AliExpress just because I've been trying to make sure that I get a real version of it. AliExpress seems to be getting lots and lots of versions of this, of various prices that are probably not real versions of the shoe. So that's why I was happy to spend that much on it, to make sure that I got the right one. I know a lot of you have different ways of getting these Chinese shoes. I'm not going to go through any of those ways because I've not tested them, so I don't want to tell you something that you end up then getting the wrong shoes from, or you get a bad service. You can talk about it in the comments, but I used AliExpress to get these and they ended up being about £155. So I've done one run in these, and I was expecting big things from these. I was very, very excited about testing these shoes because I love the Mega Blast and I love shoes like the Super Blast 2 and the Evo SL. And the Kipson Tempo, actually, that will come into this a bit later. And it is nice. It is quite similar to those shoes. I think if I was to say which shoe it was most like from those, I'd say Mega Blast and the Tempo are probably the closest versions shoes to this. It's not very much like the Evo SL, because the midsole in this is a bit more balanced. It's like what you get in the Mega Blast, where there's a bit of engine in return in it, but it's also smooth. It just ticks loads of boxes. The Evo SL is a lot softer, and there's a lot bouncier experience in that shoe than you get in this. This very similar to something like the Mega Blast, and the Kipson Tempo, where it just kicks into gear when you're maintaining a nice pace, but also gives you a bit of flexibility as well in if you want to run faster, or if you want to do shorter reps, or if you want to run tempo or run for longer. It's definitely a shoe that fits across all those different things. I would say that over the course of the 10k that I did in it, I varied between about 4 minute 40 kilometers and about 5:20. 4:40 is probably my tempo, pace, maybe what I'd use if I was training longer distance in a marathon, and 520 is my easy pace. It definitely felt to me like a shoe that felt better at the faster bits. But it could deal with, if when I was running in my easy pace, it felt fine, but I definitely wouldn't say it was a shoe that felt amazingly comfortable and enjoyable at that pace. I'd probably much rather use an easier shoe that maybe was had a bit more bounce in it, a bit of softness. But for the consistent pace stuff, like that's tempo level stuff, it felt great. Very much like the Mega Blast, very much like the Kipstorm Tempo, and it felt very smooth as well. It's definitely a very balanced midsole foam. It definitely has a nice heel to toe transition in it, and it's a very good shoe. So I'm glad to say that it is a good shoe, and it's well worth looking at if you want a shoe like the Mega Blast or the Kipstorm Tempo. The outsole on it is really good, actually. It's really full layer of rubber on this outsole. It goes all the way across it. There's an exposed section in the middle, but yeah, you just get this all the way across the shoe. And it's a very light shoe, surprisingly light, about 190 grams for me in the UK, when in fact it's quite a big shoe as well. So to get that much rubber on it is pretty good feat. So hopefully you get a good durability from the outsole rubber on this shoe. So yeah, very much enjoyed that first run in it. So my early verdict in the Dynafish Xiaonian, the Chinese shoe market is a tricky one at the moment, because when people commenting on these shoes, when people are talking about how good these shoes are, and they're better options than a lot of the Western ones, I don't think they are. I think if the reason why people really like these shoes is because historically they've offered a cheaper alternative to getting almost the same or the same benefits you'll get from a Western shoe, and it is noticeably cheaper. So maybe last year you might be able to get this shoe for around £100 in the UK. That's pretty good. That's pretty good value for this shoe. I think it is a very, very good shoe. It's worth more than £100. But also, if you're getting it for like £150, which is what I paid for it, and some of you will say I paid too much for it, but if it's getting more expensive, which is the case for a lot of these shoes, you start competing with the Western shoes, and I don't think it's better than most Western shoes. I'd probably say this is not as good as the Mega Blast. I'd say it's probably not as good as the Kipstorm Tempo. I actually prefer the Kipstorm Tempo off the basis of that run. And the Kipstorm Tempo is actually £100 in the UK, and you can go and try it on in a shop if you want to. So there are great shoes out there that are comparable with this shoe, and you can buy them easily in the Western world. So for this to compete with those shoes, I think this is going to have to be even cheaper than those, which is not going to be the case anymore. So if you could get this for like £80, great buy. It's a really, really good shoe. If you can get it for £100, I'd probably buy the Kiprun Kipstorm Tempo. I still think the Mega Blast is better than all of those shoes, which is why it's more expensive. I think the Mega Blast is, if you really want the best, then I would go for the Mega Blast out of all of those. But if you want to save some cash and you want to get as close to the Mega Blast as possible, Kiprun Kipstorm Tempo, I would say, is better than this. But I still think this is a great shoe. So I'm not saying this is a bad shoe by any stretch of the imagination. And I'd be more than happy to use this instead of the Kipstorm Tempo if I didn't have the Kipstorm Tempo. But I think just the existence of that shoe means that the value of this isn't actually that good if you're buying it from abroad. And also, there's unless you, it's quite hard to buy this shoe because there isn't an actual store that just deals specifically in these ones. So there's a bit of an added risk in it, especially if you like going through AliExpress. But it is a great shoe. It's a really good shoe. If you can get it cheaper and it's an actual version of the shoe, that's good. But what I would say is, don't look at this as being for the same price as something like the Kipstorm Tempo or the Adidas Evo SL. Don't look at this as being a superior shoe to those, because I think it's probably on a par for most people, or those are slightly better. I would probably say if I had £100 or £120 or whatever, price is £150 I paid for this, but if this costs £100, I would still say the Kipstorm Tempo is better than this shoe, because it just feels a little bit smoother, a little bit more comfortable, and obviously you're getting it from a reputable UK seller if you're buying it in the UK. I know it's more expensive in the US. But having said that, I do think it's a good solid shoe. If you can get it cheaper and you're happy that it's an actual bona fide version of the shoe, it's a great shoe. I'd probably say it's worth getting this anything up to about £120 maybe in the US, because the Kipstorm Tempo isn't that cheap in the US. But I would say the Evo SL is probably better than this for me as well, based off that first run. So that is the Dynafish Xiaonian. I'm looking forward to doing some more testing in it, and yeah, I am impressed with it so far. It just falls into this whole realm of how good value is a Chinese shoe if you're actually spending a lot more on it. But it is a great shoe, and definitely up there with like the Kitstorm Tempo and the Mega Blast and the Super Blast 2. I wouldn't compare it with the Super Blast 3 because I don't think the Super Blast 3 is a particularly good, versatile performance trainer, but the 2 is quite similar to this. That's it from me on this first look at the Dynafish Xiaonian. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click that little bell. And if you're going to catch me below, you can find it to our podcast, which comes out a couple of times each month. Thanks a lot for watching. Catch you next time.